today is the introduction to adding and subtracting fractions. Now this requires a little bit more steps than multiplying and dividing, right? So I split this over 2 days. The first day we use pictures to help us doing the adding and subtracting, but in the day 8 we get rid of the pictures. So the pictures come in handy because they help visualize what's really going on, but you got to be able to do it with just numbers, right? So before we start doing calculations and stuff like that, it's really important to know that a fraction just represents a part of a whole. Here's a whole. Oh, this one's like half of it's colored in. This is 2 out of the 3 things are colored in. So notice all these shapes, when they're divided up into equal size shapes. So on our previous day's assignments, I think it was day 2, some of you guys tried dividing things up and some of your pieces weren't the right size. Like one was way bigger than the other one, right? So we're going to practice drawing shapes of equal size first. All right, now we're going to start off with something like this. If I shade in one of these sides, it's called a half, right? Now half is a good shape to start with. You can build the other ones from it. If I want to divide this into 4 pieces, I just take the half, right, and I split it in half the other way. Now we got it into quarters, okay? Now I can shade this in, that'd be 1 quarter, right? Before 6, let's do 8. How could I draw 8 pieces? Sorry? Yeah, so you draw your quarter, then you split your quarter pieces in half. So you have your quarter like this. Oops, that was a green line. Then we're going to cut each one of those in half. Half this way, half this way. That gives us 8 pieces. Now 6 is a little tricky. 6 we can do from a half, but I suggest starting it from a third. So a third is a circle like this with a peace symbol inside of it or the Mercedes symbol inside of it. A third would look like this, right? So that's 3 equal pieces. Now, if you want to make this into a 6, what would we do?
Yep, you can go from like the side, like
middle, and yeah, go out. Yeah. So I'm looking at Hallie's charade. She goes like this. So take each one and you split it in half.
Boom.
And we get a 6th.
Boom,
all right. So that's a good shape to start off with, right? And then you can see that's another one here, right? So I can start off with the Mercedes symbol. Right, so start off with a base 1, and then start dividing it up from there. All right? Okay. So now, before we get into adding, I want to talk about how do we pronounce the fractions. Right? Because that comes in handy for when we're adding and subtracting. Right? So, if I wanted to draw this symbol here, this fraction here, I have my circle. I draw my circle, and how many pieces do I cut this circle into? 3. Thank you. So the bottom one tells us how many pieces we cut it into. So we cut it into 3 pieces, right? And how many pieces do we shade? 2, the top number. So how do we pronounce this fraction? Payton?
2/3.
2/3. All right. So we're going to write that down. Go ahead, Aya. 2/3. The first word we say is number counted. The pieces we're counting. The next word is the size of the piece. right? We have two pieces that are a third big. These are two pieces of, say, let's do this one. We'll skip. Let's do this one here. Are going to look different, right? So here, let's skip one and go. This shape here, we're skipping down to here. How many pieces do we break it up into? Erza? 2. So that's the vertical line. That's the bottom number. How many do we shade in?
All of them.
2, all of them. So how do we pronounce this one? 2 is how many pieces? It's not 2, 2. So the words describe the size.
2 seconds?
Nope.
2 whole.
Halves.
Oh,
Halves.
Oh, because half. Oh my. Oh.
So halves. 2 halves, right? So the first one tells you how many you're counting. Second one tells you how big the pieces are. So like this one, 2 thirds, and this is 2 halves. So they're counting the same number of pieces, but the pieces aren't the same size, right? These are smaller pieces than these ones. So the bottom number tells you what you're counting, all right? Let's go to this one here. The very bottom one. How many pieces do we break it up into? 4, thank you. We take it vertically like this, and you take it horizontal like this, and how many do we cut it into? 3, thank you. 1, 2, 3. Doesn't matter which one you shade in.
3/4.
So now we can say 3/4. Or for 4s, we also have another word sometimes we use sort of Peyton.
Quarters.
Or you can say 3/4. Right? As in there's like 4 quarters in $1. Okay? All right. So now, what I want you to realize is whenever we are adding or subtracting, all we are doing is counting. If Eli has 2 apples and Peyton has 3 apples, altogether we have 5 apples. We're counting something. What we're counting is the size of the shapes. So if I go to the next page here, right? And I want to add this fraction with this fraction. Let's write out the equation first. The first equation, how many pieces are shaded in? 2. That's the number on the top. Second number is how many pieces it's breaking up into? 6. All right, that's this one. The other one, it's 2 and 6 again. Okay, so if I want to add these together, look at the picture. How many total shaded pieces do we have?
4.
4. So the top number is 4. What do you think the bottom number is? 6. Remember, the bottom number tells us what we're counting. It's like the apples. 2 and 3 apples, right? 2 plus 3, 5 apples. We have 4 sixes, 6, right? All together, right? So we have 4 sixths, right? So the bottom number doesn't change. The top number we do our adding and subtracting. Right? This number is where we add / subtract. This one, oops, doesn't change. Oops. So yeah. Right? Because it tells us what size of the pieces we're counting. These are all 6th size pieces. We have 2 of them here, another 2 over there. Altogether, we have 4 of them. Okay? That's what that's saying. So let's do, not that one, let's skip one, that one. Let's go to this one. Right? skip here. Right? So, our first fraction, right, is what's the top number? What's the bottom number? How many are shaded and how big are the pieces? On this one. 6 out of 8. Excellent. 6 are shaded. There are 8 pieces. Okay. Yep. What's the next one? 1 is shaded out of 8. So then 7 out of 8. Right? So now, not that my kids are doing this in school right now, this method, I can teach to my elementary kids.
Wouldn't it be 8 plus 8 is 16?
No, remember the bottom doesn't change. The bottom tells us how big are the pieces. There are 7 of these pieces, 7 of 8 size pieces, right? Right?
What's the top one?
4 out of 6.
6.
Okay.
What?
So now, let's do this one. Okay? What is the first fraction and what is the second fraction?
2 over 3.
First one, we have 2 shaded over 3. Then we have 2 shaded out of 6. So if we combine these together,
4.
over what?
9.
6,
3.
3. What's the problem with this question?
They're
The
two different.
denominators are different.
The denominators are different, right? When we count, we need to make sure we're counting the same size. It doesn't work when you have 2 apples and 3 oranges. What's the number 5 represent? You need to be counting the same size pieces. So now we need to manipulate how these fractions look like. So I'm going to take the bigger pieces here and I'm going to make it smaller so it looks like this one over here. So I can take this, I need to make this the same size pieces. So this has size 6, these are thirds. If I take this and I split it in half like this, and like this, and like this, now they're the same size pieces. So over here, if I were to write a new fraction for it, what would this fraction be? Curtis?
4 over 6.
4 over 6. There's 4 shaded pieces, and there's 6 pieces altogether. And now the other one is 2 over 6.
So then it'd be 6 over 6.
Then it'd be 6 over 6. Now that the pieces are the same size, you can add, right? And this is where most of the work is going to take place in grade 8 with adding, subtracting, and when the denominators aren't the same. So today we're working on with pictures, and pictures makes it really easy to visualize what's happening. Next lesson, day 8, we do this without pictures. All right, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so first fraction on this one. What's the top number? 2. What's the bottom number? 5. Next fraction. Top number, bottom number. 1, 2. Okay.
Whoa.
So, what you want to do is sort of merge the 2 pictures together. That's what we did last time, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and cut it in half this way. Right? And I'm going to take this one and duplicate what's happening over here. And I'm going to cut it into 5 pieces this way. So I'm going to try to do it as evenly as possible. All right? So now, I just copied the cutting instructions from one image to the other one, right? And now they both have the same cutting instructions, right? If I look at the first diagram, how many pieces are there? Right?
11 white and
No. Remember, we go, how many are shaded versus total. So how many are shaded in here?
4.
4. How many are total?
10.
10. Next one.
5.
How many are shaded? 5.
10.
10. So now that the bottoms are the same, the denominators are the same, we can add them because we're counting the same size things. Right? So we go 10 stays the same. What's the top number? 9.
10.
Right? Right? Now, I'm not going to ask you to do this. I think in the assignment, I leave spaces to do this. If you wanted to, if you find it easier, you could draw the equals and you could draw the shaded in shape. You'd go like this, and I go 1, 2, 3, like this. I'd shade in 4 from the first one. Then I would shade in 5 for the second diagram. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can see the answer is 9/10. So you can do that. Right? If you are a very visual learner, you're welcome to do that. I think for most students, just doing this step is enough. So that'll be optional on the assignment for you guys, whether or not you want to draw it or not. Okay. Last question. All right. First, start off. What is the fraction for the left diagram?
Over 6.
1/6.
And the next one,
One
you
over
have
four.
1 over 4. Mr. Dhaliwal,
Yeah.
you have to write that before you do the conversion.
Yes, because next day we start without the diagram. We start with just this. All right. So we want to go from being able to see the two things. Okay. So now we're going to copy the cutting instructions from the first one onto the next one and back and forth. So here we draw these vertical lines in. So we're going to have 6 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So here on the left side, we're going to break up this into 3 equal sides here and 3 equal pieces over there. Right? So I'm going to go like this. Draw 2 lines that way and another 2 lines this way. Okay? So we broke this up into this instructions over here, and to make this one look like that one,
Draw
we
a
need to
line in the middle.
draw a line in the middle.
Yes.
All right?
So that will become 2/12
2/12
and 3/12.
and 3/12.
Altogether, 5/12.
Altogether, 5/12. That's it.
Not a roll.
So that's how you add fractions. So next day we're going to practice with pictures, and on day 8 we're going to do it without pictures. I'll show you how to do this without pictures.
Are we done here?
That's it. We're done.